Hello, everybody. Sorry for making you wait a bit there. Just getting everything set up nice and good. Everybody ready to start? I'm ready to start.
Yeah, I'm ready to start.
I can abjectly promise people that even though this is a short section for Mom Piece number 3, you're going to be blown away. I promise you, you're going to be blown away.
I don't think so, but okay.
The humility, the humbleness. Hi, everybody. It's lovely to have you. We're going to be doing One Piece. My mom reads One Piece. Mom Piece, number 3, chapters 114, chapters 101 to 114. I can't talk, apparently. Yeah, we're entering the Grand Line. Oh, thank you for the follows, everybody. So many coming in. I can't keep track of names. I'm so grateful.
Full disclosure, I read to 118 or 116 by accident.
Yeah, you called me like yesterday to be like, hey, what chapter was I stopping at? And I was like 114, and you went, oh, and I was like, are you on the next arc? And you just said, we might be at a small garden. So there's like a few bits of information from the next little bit that Mama Drock is now aware of.
In my defense.
Yeah?
I wanted to read it.
In your defense, you wanted to?
And also in my defense, I stopped. So
you did. You stopped after that point.
I was like, uh-oh. Oh, I did it again. I'm sure I did it again.
It's just a small garden.
Just a little tiny garden. Tiny.
Just a tiny garden.
And I'm only a tiny ways in.
Oh, man. So, we are going to be talking about today Reverse Mountain and Whiskey Peak. Here's the thing. I didn't expect there to be much to talk about in this section, unfortunately, because I was just like, well, my biggest goal is that every part of the series gets its dues, so I'm specifically cutting parts that I think might get overlooked to sit on their own so that we can give them the time I think they deserve. But I think I'm going to be wrong. I think you've already found a lot to talk about here. So do you want to get started? What are your thoughts as we enter Reverse Mountain?
Okay, so yeah, Reverse Mountain. Let's talk about it. Why are we sailing up a mountain? I don't know. We're sailing up a mountain.
Sometimes there's mountains you can sail up.
Sometimes you're hanging out in the ocean and mountains pop up and you're like, we could go around this, or hear me out, we could go over it in a boat. But it's interesting because I kept thinking about the myths and legends around koi. Swimming upstream and then having to get over top of the waterfall in order to become a dragon. And so I was like, okay, so we're sailing up a mountain, which kind of gives you this awesome moment of them being like Japanese koi, and they're going together, and so they're teammates. But then when I was looking up the koi myth about going up the waterfall to become a dragon, they were talking about how they almost act like race cars or bikes and how they draft on each other to get up and make it easier. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can see this. They're in the boat. They're almost like koi. And they're drafting on each other and using each other's skills to get up this mountain. So it's kind of like an origin story of how you go from being a regular whatever you are into a greater version of you, into the dragon.
I hadn't thought about that, but it's kind of fun because the Grand Line's where all the major players in the world are. It's how you become a great pirate is by entering the Grand Line. You're now, instead of just someone who's a criminal out at seas, you're actually chasing your dream now. Going to the place where everyone goes to try to become king of the pirates. So I like that. I like that imagery.
Yeah, I do too. And then to kind of like live up to that idea, you come down the other side, you slip down, and then you have what they originally think is another giant mountain, which turns out to be Laboon. But we'll get into that because this person did talk here, and I wanted to mention that first. Like, Calm Belt was such a short period of time, and I felt like a little, dare I say, ripped off. Because when we were in the Calm Belt, and there was that amazing nest of creatures, I kept thinking like, Oh yeah. Now this is something. We're getting somewhere. A whole nest of and variety of creatures all come into the water at the same time. And suddenly we're on like the nose of this huge ass creature. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be, and then he sneezes him off. And I memean, fortunate for our group of merry wanderers, obviously, but I was like, dude, you just got sneezed off back into the storm. I wanted a little more combat time.
I feel like the combat is mostly there just so that you have a good explanation for why you need a way to enter the Grand Line and why it matters as a location. But what I love is it's not absolute. It's not like, oh yeah, you can't cross over the calm belt at all, because Oda doesn't build a world lazily. He understands that people live in the world and will break what seems like rules because they live there. Like, clearly, Don Krieg just rode as hard as he could out of the calm belt to escape Mihawk. Otherwise, how did he make it back?
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I did appreciate that. I am hoping, just as a fan, I just said that just as a fan out loud, so I guess that officially makes me a fan.
Congrats! So, you've entered the fandom! You're part of the One Piece fandom. Congratulations! Have you reached the point where you're a drug pusher needing to make everyone read it yet?
No, and I'm really nervous about that because you were so pushy.
Everyone is. You can't not be. This series turns you into a pusher.
It's really, really worrying because I'm like, oh my god, no, I just lied. I absolutely have tried to push it on someone. It.
Oh, that's how you know you're a real fan.
Oh my god, I just remembered. Yeah, no, I told one of my friends when I was telling her what I was doing, I said to her, like, it's not something that you're going to be able to get into within the first few chapters. It's not in a way that you've ever read a book, blah, blah, blah. And I went on, and then I was like, but you need to get in to understand how much layering and detailing he's doing, and that it's a mystery and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, it sounds really cool. I just don't know if I could get into it. And I was like, anyone could. And then I was like, never mind. So yeah, no, I forgot. I did have about a 5-minute monologue of why she should read.
I'm glad to hear that you're properly joining the fandom. No, I have Viz mangas especially turned me into a pusher because, like, I'm going as far as to do the one free hit thing where I'm like, hey, come on, try it out. I'll give you my Viz sub. You can read on my subscription. Don't worry about it. First one's free.
I'm also already saying things like, I gotta start collecting these books. I think they would look great on my shelf.
I'm gonna let's scroll up so everybody can see. I only have one box set, but we're gonna pan the webcam up right above me, and I have a One Piece shrine with the first box set and a bunch of little Funko Pops. I know there's a hatred of them, but I think the Straw Hat Funko Pops are cute. And a Going Merry and a future boat that's also important to the series. I was about to say a term you didn't know, and I figured probably best to let you discover everything yourself. Anyways. And now that we used to have a painting behind me, you'll notice my setup's a little bit more me focused now than someone else's great art. But now there's room for a second shelf, and I'm like, ooh, I should get the second One Piece box set, fill up another shelf.
And I have nothing to say on that front. As soon as I start becoming a collector, I can just imagine. I just want to put it out there that your dad's going to be thrilled with you. So then we come sliding down the mountain, and you're like, they hit another thing that you think is a mountain at first, and it turns out to be this giant whale, which I was grateful for because in the first piece then it ended with somebody screaming Laboon, and I was like, what's a Laboon? And you were like, don't you worry about Laboon. And then we met him right away. And I was like, and you know, as soon as you put a wicked animal in something, I'm all over that and want to give it a big hug. So
yeah, Choo Choo was immediately one of your favorite parts in early One Piece, and Laboon is just bigger Choo Choo in a lot of ways. Damn dog.
I want to take the cowfish Laboon and that dog with me and live a great good life together.
What about the Island of Strange Animals? Where do they fit on the tier list of One Piece critters?
They're being taken very, very good care of, and I have no place to take them away from that love.
Fair enough.
So it was interesting because the whale is used in so many pieces of literature as a way of talking about how normal people turn into heroes. And I feel like Oda was saying, like, he really wanted to make sure that he press the point that we're at a turning point for our cast of characters, because being swallowed by a whale is a symbol of crossing over a threshold, and that when you escape the belly of the whale, that it's changed you, so your previous life doesn't exist anymore. You're no longer an everyday person. You're reborn as a hero. So it represents kind of that final moment, the final defining like split between somebody said, I read something where somebody said between an known and an unknown world. And I thought,
oh my God, the transition between the East Blue and
exactly,
and the Grand Line, that's perfect, where we enter this strange, weird, bigger world where the rules are different and everything is unfamiliar.
I tried to find the name of this person because I hate not giving references when you find things. But this person who was looking at the whale metaphor for something else was saying that it's this really cool way of having a final split of your characters between what was known and what is now unknown. And then he called it the beginning of the Enlightenment. And I just thought, like, to me, Oda is that kind of author. So for me, when I was thinking about Laboon, and I'd already seen it as kind of like a hero transition, changing over top of the mountain with the Japanese idea of a koi into a dragon. And then when they went inside Laboon, I was like, oh, we're crossing into a whole new character. And this is like a physical representation of their change into the unknown. But then what I really liked about it is Luffy had to choose to go into it on his own because his friends were swallowed. And Luffy had to find his own way in. And then he had to take an extra adventure to get to where his friends are. And so I thought that was phenomenal to get to see that Luffy had to choose to do that transition. But also, Luffy chose it for his friends because he pissed the whale off so much.
I need people to... Oh, God, I don't want to harass someone, so I don't know if I should say this. Don't push this. At some point, I'm sure she will. I feel like Murph Napier, my favorite person who's done a read-through, would love your observations because she's been doing a series where she talks about literary analysis with One Piece and inspirational works, and you're bringing that up the whole way through in these cool ways. I really like that. I really like that both... with the whale as a metaphor, with the koi metaphor, that the entering the Grand Line feels like a transformation. Oh, it's Bellamy hours. Will I leave this one in? I debated last time if I wanted to leave this in. Bellamy! So that people know if they come to chat, they get to feed my nice little dog. And you got pets too! Mwah. Okay, now you gotta go because I gotta get back to work.
Baby Bell.
But the last video was too long to leave anything in.
Yeah, so I agree with this person, and I don't want to stay on here because I want to go in the other areas. A, to look at my notes and that I took, and B, so that people can have a conversation that doesn't include trying to hide things from me.
Everyone should try to hide. She watches the videos. Don't...
I do watch the videos.
This time.
I do watch the videos, and I was usually watching what everyone says and so excited, and then somebody started to give something away, and I literally I always read 2 words of anything that somebody has written, and then if I'm like, this is going in the wrong direction, I run away. And if I'm like, this seems okay, I read the next one, and then sometimes I still have to run away, and I have to be really careful because the world is trying to undo my non-knowledge. Every time I look something up, it's like, hey, are you interested in One Piece? I'm like, no, quit looking at me.
It's going to be easier for you to get deep into this series when you are caught up in the manga and don't have to worry about spoilers.
I know, because every time I try to look something up, I'm like, get away from me, you pusher. So I'm desperately trying to stay ignorant here.
Oh, man.
That's how I'm doing it. So anyways, we go in there. He makes this transformation. And now we've been told literally in 2 complete ways by Oda at this point that they've made a switch from who they were and what they were before. And I completely agree with what somebody said. And what you said earlier. Once you see this moment happen, prologue. The other part was all prologue. Delicious prologue. Yeah. And now you know you're going into the meat of the story. And then they try to make Laboon appear to be meat. So, yeah, I didn't think about that until just now, but ugh.
It's why I definitely like to think of it as Log Town, not as Rogue Town, because it's this really feels like the same characters are in a different story now. Like everything until now was us just knowing who they are, what they're capable of, what they're willing to do, getting a good sense of who we have entering the real story.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I love that for us. So then we're hanging out there. Oh, and something else that I loved is, what's the name of the dude? Crocus.
Crocus. I love Crocus. He's so fucking funny.
Okay, yeah, but in a ton of different whale stories, I found out when I was looking at whale stories, there's some whale stories where people come out with gray hair and or bald. I like that he is bald, but then has that weird thing around him. But also, Oda names him Crocus, and a crocus also symbolizes rebirth and new beginnings. So Oda was like, "Would you mind if I smack this in your face enough times that eventually you'll fricking get it?" And then on top of it, a crocus also symbolizes devotion.
And he's devoted to protecting Laboon.
Absolutely devoted to Laboon. And so I thought that was a beautiful beginning.
One thing I wanted to say is when you're pointing out the symbolism of transformation with whales, how many of the stories when people enter a whale, they're eaten by it, is there a pharmacy inside?
Yeah, no, almost never.
Almost never. That's a rare addition.
Yeah, every once in a while you'll see tunnels and pharmacies and houses inside of a whale. But almost never.
Almost never.
Yeah, as I was looking up whales and what it symbolizes, I did find out that recently a man was swallowed by a whale on the east coast of Canada. It spit him out. Yeah.
I was hearing about that story. People asked him a lot of questions about what it was like, and he was like, mostly scary.
Yeah, mostly scary and dark. And I wanted to find out, are you a hero now?
Have you undergone transformation? Have you become a hero? Maybe that's where the stories came from. As a guy in ancient Greece got swallowed by a whale, he came out and was like, I'm changing my life. I'm going to be a hero now. And they were like, what the fuck happened to you? And he's like, I've realized the magnitude of my mistakes. Definitely don't want to be a fisherman anymore. I know that for sure.
What did I have in here? Oh yeah. I also have Laboon. Whales represent the god Ibisu, who brings riches from the sea.
Okay.
And whaling is still very much a thing in Japan, which is interesting because Oda really took some time to humanize and protect Laboon. And show him as a truly intelligent creature. So it's interesting. It feels like Oda made his own statements within the story.
There's a lot of, I find in general, because they come from, you don't put the hours into making something that you have to succeed as a mangaka. Generally, if you come from the upper class of Japan, where really traditional values tend to be more popular. So you tend to find a lot of counterculture in Japan from mangaka. If we ever read it, I don't think you'd like it as much because it's a lot more typical shonen. It's very good, but it's a lot more typical shonen, a lot less of a mystery adventure. But there's a really good story around the mangaka of My Hero Academia being very against traditional Japanese values in a very important way. But it's too distracting to get into that right now.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay, so what else did I want to talk about? Oh, so yeah, I was trying to look up what the heck are they called? The logs.
The log pose.
Log pose. Yeah, so like pose means a gazillion different things. Pose a question, pose harm, sit around and pose. But pose generally takes time, no matter what. And then to log something, to put it inside and to write it down or make a permanent remembrance of it. So I like the idea of him calling it a log pose, thinking it of as this moment that you have to stand still in the moment, that you can't just breeze through. It was a really good idea to force it so that, because otherwise your characters would come to a place they didn't like and be like, ooh, no, this is bad. Let's go. And by creating this idea that everything is going in different directions, you're not going to be able to find your way out unless you have a log pose, and sometimes it may take many days and sometimes it may take an hour before it can record the specific magnetism for the area, was a genius way of making sure that your people can't just go whooshing through things that they didn't enjoy. They're actually forced to reckon. Well, they have that, and then they have the fact that Luffy is stupid and wants to adventure in things that he shouldn't enjoy. So both of those things, but
it facilitates an adventure series perfectly.
Mm-hmm. I think that was a really good idea. So I was really thrilled with that, with those things that he was creating with the story to force longer exploration.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the really cool traits of the Grand Line is that it needs to be navigated in an unfamiliar way. In a way, an easier way, because you just follow where it points to, but also it forces adventure and island hopping. Just wanted to real quick thanks Ranched and Fabled Noodle for the subs. That means so goddamn much. This is a small channel and every subscriber is a huge deal at this point, so I'm incredibly grateful. Anyways, yeah. I really, really love log poses. This is a tiny bit off of, it's not really off topic. My wife and I both really like One Piece, and a tattoo we want to get when we can afford it to celebrate 10 years together is we want to get a log pose on our wrists. We just kind of need to decide if we want them to be pointing in the same direction together or pointing at each other. Haven't decided yet, but we're going to get log pose tattoos sometime in the near future.
Ooh. The sound's off.
Oh, the sound's off.
There, sound's on again. Sometimes on. when you move your arms about, the sound goes off.
That's funny.
I find it hilarious.
Kaido Luminous. Actually, Fabled Noodle has been reading One Piece since it first started serializing here in the States. Definitely one of my favorite.
Okay, wait.
Loving your perspective. And Kaido Luminous has a question and wants to know what you think of Laboon's backstory.
Okay, yeah. So, is the word heart-wrenching big enough for Laboon's backstory? I don't think so. Soul-crushing? No, that's not quite big enough either.
Yep.
Absolutely decimating and destroying. Like
that Laboon's friends didn't want him to come with him because it was too dangerous for a baby, and they're probably all dead, and he's been waiting for like 50 years.
Are they all dead? I started to wonder, and I'm not allowed. Am I allowed to make predictions throughout, or are we just going to do them at the end?
We have to return to them when we get to the end, but you can absolutely make predictions throughout. And remember, nobody talk about the predictions. The most we can say is interesting, or we can't tell you. Those are the rules. But you are welcome to make a prediction.
Okay, so first of all, Laboon's backstory, the very first time I read it the way that I look at things if I'm trying to look something up on the internet or look at comments. I partially read it the first time because it hurt my heart too much. And then I had to go back and reread it when my heart knew where we were going, because I was like, oh my God, I am so sad right now. And the way that he drew tiny Laboon, even though he wasn't tiny, sitting there and understanding, and when Crocus said, Laboon understood, so he makes sure that he gives Laboon a lot of cognizance and a lot of understanding, and he's like, Laboon understood, and so he was happy to wait for me while they went and did this dangerous thing, and then the way that Laboon continues to wait with that same idea of his family, his pot, or his treasure, and how he just comes back to that, sitting there and waiting for his treasure return, and he doesn't even have the ability to go after his treasure. He has to wait for his treasure. And it was heartbreaking because Laboon can't even be the master of his own destination, the same way that my baby dog couldn't be the master of his own destiny, because both of them were waiting for treasure that probably would never return. Then I asked myself, is it possible that Buggy the stupid ass clown is Laboon's pirate crew? Because Buggy says in it, going back to the Grand Line, he said, I'm going to go look in my photos. I'm going to go look in my photos now.
I will tell you, it can't be Buggy, because you know that Buggy was a kid at the same time as Shanks, so he's not 50 years old.
Well, that's what I reminded myself.
Yeah.
But then I was like, okay, who else has gone through and would have the thing? And I was like, well, it could be the pirate that was murdered. So if the pirate who was the last pirate king was deaded, then he wouldn't come back for Laboon because his crew would have been split up. And then I was like, okay, who else? And then I was like, could it be Crap Geezer? Because Crap Geezer is older. He went into that area with his crew, then they left, and and it feels like Crap Geezer would be the type of person who would have a baby Laboon as a pet.
Does he feel like the type of person that wouldn't come back for a baby Laboon?
No, he doesn't. But would he be able to go back as well? Right. So
because he's injured now.
Because he was injured, he didn't have a crew, he couldn't take people through. So there was all these things. But yeah, so I'm playing around with my Laboon things. I have like 4, and I'll look at them in a minute. 4 different panels I took a picture of that would give me a guess on Laboon's origin. So I'll get into that in prediction time. But yeah, I spent some time in my backstory world with Laboon, and I just want to let you know that I was already super angry with you for making me like One Piece and have to read the soul-crushing backstory of Laboon, my soft, big, beautiful whale.
Don't worry, it gets worse.
Who? What? No! What? No!
I mean the series in general, not Laboon.
Oh, frick. God, you're killing me, man. And then the way that they dealt with Laboon not hurting himself anymore. I love how Luffy gets an idea, like, I don't know, stabbing himself in the face, and then is just like, I'm just going to do that thing. So he immediately goes and attacks Laboon, and is like, if I attack Laboon, I can create myself as an enemy and give him purpose, because right now, and I really liked, I mean, did I love how Luffy did it? No, I didn't. But did I love that Luffy gave Laboon agency over his own life? Yeah, I did. He said, you know, I'm now your nemesis and I'm coming back. You can't smash yourself in the face anymore because I've tattooed the front of you. So if you smash your face, you break our contract. And I was like, you know what, Luffy? I'm here for that. Was it great hurting Laboon? No, I don't love that. But is it great that you cared so much about Laboon that you found a way to make sure he didn't smash his little face in? Yeah, I'm here for that.
I really love that Luffy's always looking for what he can do to get someone what they need to be happy. Like, he's always looking for what will make this person happy.
Yeah. No, you're out again. I don't know why your sound is going in and out.
What is up today? Let me... Am I audible? Am I good?
I can hear all that, but every once in a while when you lean back... Oh, you went away again.
What? Okay. Well, okay, hopefully it sticks around. I haven't had that audio issue before, but I love discovering new tech issues. Big hobby for me. Discovering new things that can go wrong with the stream setup. Whoops.
It's everybody's dream. Okay, so where did I want to go? Oh, yeah. So does he let people have, and I'm asking you this question because it's happened 2 or 3 times now. And I meant to ask it before, so I made a little thing here. It's the number Wednesday. Yeah. Are Wednesday and Mr. 9 telepathic? Because a few times he lets people talk in thought bubbles, like they're not talking in talking bubbles.
From what I'm aware of, in some mangaka will sometimes use thought bubbles to be a whisper.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
basically
kind of
meant
where
to be secretive is what a thought bubble means to a lot of mangaka, whereas it's only ever inner thought in the West.
Okay. So I was wondering, because I was thinking, like, is this meant to be like a telepathic moment? Is this meant to be they're reading each other's faces and body language moment? So that explains everything. I love that because there's been a few places, so I will assume that's a whisper. The only reason I didn't is sometimes there were areas where there's just tiny little words that aren't even inside like a talking bubble, and then those tiny little words that are just left out in the world, I always thought those were whispers. But I could see, but then I could see that it would make sense to have the little thought bubbles be whispers if you were trying to put them in the center of action.
Exactly. It's a way of having it be not off to the side. The tiny thought bubbles could also just be in the background or something. Yeah, I think the thought bubble is something he uses to be like, this is a secretive thing. This is not known information to everyone who's not involved in the bubble. So if it's one person on their own, it's probably inner thought. And if it's 2 people, it's whispering.
Okay. Love it. Good. That'll help me out in the future. I appreciate it. I also I remembered that I needed to write down more things that I was not just noticing, but things that I need help with, because then I go to read it again and I'm like, yeah, I forgot to ask about this and now I still don't know. And then the other thing was, oh yeah, so they come back and they decide to take them, which seems like a terrible decision, but it also seems really like a Straw Hat Pirate decision. So that made sense. I was fine with it. And then I was like, yeah, what's up with this weird chick, Wednesday, who they named Wednesday, who, okay, we already had that. Why are some of the people named numbers and some of the people named days of the week? Yeah.
So in the organization Baroque Works, and you've met enough of them that I feel like I can say this, each agent is a male-female pair. The men are named numbers that organize their strength, so that you can track the strength of a pair based off of what number they are. So the lower the number,
closer you are to 0, the higher in strength you, and the closer you are.
Exactly. And the woman paired with each male agent is named after a day. Sometimes a day of the week, sometimes a holiday.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you run out of days of the week really fast.
Yes. Because I think you've already... No, I don't think you've met that character yet. This is one that I didn't skim over because I was like, it's small enough, I don't have to. I should have, because I forgot some details, it turns out. I'm looking over my memories, and the memory banks ain't perfect here.
All right, so they decide to take them. Let's see if there was anything else that I wanted to talk about in this little area, or any questions anyone had who's on the live. Okay. So I'm just going to the end. Okay. Love that in the stomach acid part, by the way, while the old man is diving in, I'm like, why is it that he is able to dive into the stomach acid and clearly has done this before, and yet we see like many, many skeletons under the water when he's swimming through it, which I'm assuming have been gobbled up in the stomach acid. And I was like, interesting. I would like to see the reasoning behind that. Okay.
Crocus is just hashtag built different.
Crocus is hashtag built different. That's what you're going to say. So one of the things that I found interesting in the panels in between, prior to moving on, so we have Kobe and... Wait, I wrote his name down. Is it Helmeppo? Where is it? Helmeppo. Yeah, there we go. Kobe and Helmeppo.
Do you want to save that till right before we go to Whiskey Peak so that we can just do Reverse Mountain now?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
But don't let me forget, because I want to talk about...
I will remind you that before Whiskey Peak, we will have to talk about Kobe and Helmeppo. Have you finished? Is that cover story done now, where you're at?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, has he moved back to image requests, or has he not yet?
I think he moved back. Let's not talk about it all yet.
Okay. We won't talk about it all for now. So, I'm just thinking about all the things you learned there. So you learned about Crocus, you learned about Laboon, and you learned about the final destination.
Yeah. Okay. So then he's giving them the thing and teaching them how to use all the different, how to use their log, and log pose. And then I was like looking at the little map that he did. Let me look at it right now. And what chapter that is in. I was looking at his little map that he had where he showed all the islands and where they would have to go. Oh, God, no. I went too far back when I looked, and now I had to look at Laboon's backstory and crush my heart again.
Laboon's backstory. Embrace it. Embrace Laboon.
Run away!
The whale was left alone by people who died on the Grand Line, never to return.
You're the worst. It really did. Oh, here we go. I was already on this page, and it's chapter 105.
Perfect.
On this normal navigation. Okay, so I'm looking at his page where it has the red line running.
People are saying you're not done Kobe's story, by the way.
Not done Kobe's story?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll come back. So I'm looking at this page, and it's got the red line running through the side, and then straight up and down it has all these different navigable paths of different islands, and then they all come down to an island at the end, and it's written as Raftel. And because everybody is on my ass about how I pronounced Zoro's name as Zolo, but I was saying, as far as I had known, that in Japanese you never pronounce the R as an R but as an L. Then I was like, is this supposed to be Laftel? And then I tried to look up tell, Japanese, just the word tell, and then it was saying Tokyo engineering, blah, 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 and other things. And then they were saying it was kind of like a filler word. And then I tried to look up Raftel, and it immediately the pictures on it just went to Crocus. So I was like, nope, that's One Piece, run away. Yeah. And so I can't look that up. And so, which was nice. It was nice. That's another thing I've learned, that if I'm trying to not have things spoiled, I take a look at what images come up when I put a word in. And if it just all of a sudden everything is One Piece, I'm like, read nothing. But I think it's supposed to be laugh. I don't know how to pronounce the last part. The first part definitely has to be laugh. The last part is, I think I'm pronouncing incorrectly, because
what I can say is, to my knowledge, this is another one like Logtown, Roguetown, where based off of how I've seen it written in several translations, this isn't one of the times that Oda was able to provide a specific translation, which our interpretation as a fan base has been, that means which one it is means something, and he doesn't want to give it up yet.
Yeah, but that makes me want him to give it up more, and now I'm obsessed with this word, and I don't know how to look this word up then.
Let me tell you, you can't. You cannot look up this word. You're on the roller coaster ride. You've made your call, and you are stuck on the ride now.
Okay, so if the beginning is laugh and not wrath, which I've decided it is, so laugh, tell. I'm going to keep saying it over and over again.
You're going to say it until it sounds like something?
I don't know what to tell you.
I'm excited to hear when you think it sounds like something, what you say then.
Because it's got to be more. There's more to it then. If the last island is called that, then there's more to it, about being a joke, about being some sort of narrative that is funny to the pirate, the last island. In all the history, only one group of pirates is known to have landed there for sure, and it was the crew of the Pirate King. Yeah,
so you think it's
I'm going to obsess about it.
Based on what you said?
Just so you know, that's my new obsession.
So based on what you said, you think it's their name for it, so it was... Yeah, okay.
God, no. That's my new obsession now.
Is figuring out the name of the final island and its meaning. Okay.
Well, there's more to this. And then Luffy, until we get there. You mean until we get there? Is that where the One Piece is? Perhaps. Okay, obsessed. We need to not move into that part too much, because now I'm obsessed.
Sounds like it. Look, I think if there's anything to be obsessed about in the series, it's the One Piece. Like, that's the mystery, even before you realize, like you somehow did before by chapter 71 you realize this, but even before people have the realization that the whole series is a mystery, everybody knows the One Piece is kind of a mystery. And I think that's the moment where you start thinking about, oh yeah, we're after a treasure, what is it? That I think is more okay to obsess over than anything. There is a leading theory that I support in the fan base for what it is, and I feel like it's impossible that you're going to figure out that idea. But at this point, I wouldn't be shocked. And I'm so excited to see if you come up with that.
It's making me crazy. Because then I start to think about, why would he choose that? How can it not be translated from Japanese over? Does he like the name because it has the word laugh in it then? Like, is the English translation, does he like it in two sounds? Is there a reason he likes it in two sounds? So then I start to think, like, yeah, okay. I'm digging into this. I'll get there.
All right.
Okay, and then we have... This is when you know something is going on, right? When you already know that the numbers mean something. When the mysterious sea otter, Mr. 13, comes and drops a package, which happens to be a bomb. And let's just put it out. If you've got to be bombed by something, it might as well be the cutest little creature holding his little clamshells out in front of him on a flying vulture. Yes, the mysterious vulture, Miss Friday. Rock it out, Miss Friday. So
I love that this pair of assassin spies are an otter and a vulture.
Yeah, I could not have been happier. When they came down, I was like, oh, hell yeah. If you've got to be murdered, it should definitely be by one of the most adorable little otters in the world with little sea clammy shells on its hand. Hells to the yeah. But it's also where you suddenly know, like, oh, okay, these numbers and these names mean something.
Mm-hmm.
because if they didn't, you wouldn't have something else coming out in a numbered thing, and a named thing, another date and another number. And then I guess do we have anything else to talk about in this first section with my Laboon?
I think we've talked about Laboon, we've talked about Crocus, we've talked about the final island. I think we've talked about everything we need to, and we can move on to the furthering. People have confirmed that it's not done yet. The furthering of the diary of Koby Meppo. Koby and Helmeppo doing their best to learn how to be Marines, being trained at Marine HQ, trying to get strong.
Not just that, but Helmeppo's in this section. First, we see Helmeppo make the choice to yell at and jump off the stolen little craft into the water to come back. I don't understand what they have to atone for. So if anyone wants to let me know if I missed something, because I wasn't paying close enough attention to those, and still I saw them atoning. So there was one, and did I take a picture of it? Because I usually take a picture of the ones that interest me, but I don't think I did because I was a brat. But there was one where it had them kowtowing to apologize to the captain of the ship they were on in the Marines, and then get back in and then have to atone for their things. And I'm like, what are they atoning for? Being kidnapped?
Koby tried to... One of the people on the ship gave the order to fire a cannon. I actually just watched something about this, so it's fresh in my memory. To fire a cannon to sink Captain Morgan and kill Helmeppo. And Koby got in the way, put his body in front of the cannon so that they couldn't shoot it, so that Helmeppo didn't die. Helmeppo just let himself get captured.
Yeah. But Helmeppo didn't really let himself. Like, I did find that page and I went back to that page, but because when I saw them kowtowing, I was like, what are they kowtowing for? Yeah. I went back and took a peek, but I couldn't find the page where Koby had done something. But when you say that, I kind of have a recollection of glossing over it. I hate that I can't gloss over anything. Yeah. Anytime I gloss over something, I'm like, oh shit, that mattered.
Yeah, Koby, when they tried to shoot Helmeppo, was pointing guns at his superiors and stood in front of the cannon to get them to stop. And then the superior who gave the order sliced his guns up into ribbons, and Koby was like, oh, I did my best, Helmeppo, it's on you now. And Helmeppo had jumped overboard. So then
had jumped overboard, Morgan. Okay. So then we follow them atoning, washing, doing all these things. And by the time that you're finished watching that, it was very confusing because Koby was big in my last panel on that. So I don't think I finished seeing everything, but to the last place that I got to, keep in mind, I very much accidentally read to chapter 115.
So you actually might have gotten to the end, I'm realizing.
Yeah. Okay. So here it is. I found it. The beginning of chapter 16, it says big. And then the beginning is Koby and Helmeppo's Chronicles of Toil, volume 28, day after day, train. And they're both covered in lumps all over their skulls and owies all over their body. And he's big at this point. And I was like, how did he grow so much? How much time has passed? So then I was wondering, like, if the time that's taking place inside of where we are right now is running at a different speed than the time that's taking place outside of the line, because how did Koby get so big and have to go through so much training and so much kowtowing? And meanwhile, we've barely been in, we're still just left Whiskey Island or whatever. We're just on that.
Yeah, it's only been like a month or so. I will say this. I have seen theories about this to try to make sense of it. One of them is the logic of food in One Piece, where you can go from starving to healthy real quick, where it's like, yeah, he was just malnourished on Alvida's ship and now he can have his teenage growth spurt. One of them's just, it is a teenage growth spurt and it's an anime, so since he's working out and got his growth spurt, he gets to grow real big real fast. One of it's just, if you never exercise and suddenly you do, I don't know. None of it makes perfect sense, but It's just
if
meant
you
to
never
reflect his hard
exercise,
work.
suddenly you grow a foot and a half.
One of the other theories I have read is that this cuts ahead of time. Like, this is happening faster than what we're seeing. And, like, this backstory is ending months from now. Because Kobe's just not intersecting with the story for that time. I've read a lot of
So they're
theories.
allowing us to see into the future.
So that we actually get the full scope of his story, yeah. That's the one I like best.
Because I was like, it would be a very interesting thing if the time inside of the area they are now is running at such a different speed, almost like like space speed. I was like, are we running at a different timeline?
I like it as a theory, but I think I just got to tell you not to. That's not what's happening, because
no, I wouldn't have put it in my front page.
Yeah, with where your corkboard's at, or the mental corkboard is, I feel like too big of a red herring might disrupt your analysis.
No, I wouldn't put that on my front page anyways. I was just kind of like, are we talking about some kind of a weird thing going on here with Kobe, or are we talking about does it matter?
Yeah. It's
I don't know.
Yeah. My take is just we're seeing a bit into the future so that we don't have to only get half of Kobe's story of training.
I'd like to go backwards and see if we had another moment where we see that, because that would also help.
Someone confirmed, by the way, that the story doesn't end till chapter 119, so you're not there yet.
I wasn't that bad of a kid. I was a minorly bad kid.
Yeah, you didn't quite reach the end of the Diaries of Kobe Meppo yet.
And it was an accident at first, because I couldn't remember which chapter you said I could read to, but the minute that I was like hanging out in the garden, I was like, uh-oh. That's a new island.
People are wanting your opinion on the Marine who fell asleep and let Morgan escape and is handling a lot of their training, Garp.
Yeah, so I kept trying to say to myself, is this like a sensei thing where they're taking most of the hit for the person who really should be taking the hit for this, because both of them are having to atone so hard, and he's the one that's having to train them. So you kind of wonder.
Kobe should have to. I think Helmeppo really didn't do that much.
No, Helmeppo I just feel bad for, like he's being shoved in the same thing. But you kind of have to wonder whether or not, because Helmeppo is like, dude, I was kidnapped by somebody like 90 times stronger than me.
I've done no training, and he just put an axe to my head. What do you want from Kobe? Actually disobeyed orders.
What you thought I was going to do here. And then they're like, that's a good point. So go do all these chores, chore boy. And he's like, sweet, that's fantastic. But then I wondered whether or not it was some sort of punishment also for the dude who had to watch them. If they were like, yeah, well, you failed, so now you have to go down to being a lowly trainer of chore boys. So that's how I decided to see it, as a way of feeling better about how little break they got and how big of a break he got.
All right. So we are about to head on to Whiskey Peak now.
Yes. Okay. So just a reminder, if anyone wants to continue to see this, like and subscribe, hit the button so you get all the subscription things, because then we can keep on rocking on. You won't miss a thing.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Thank you for doing my like and subscribe plug.
You never do a like and subscribe plug.
Ever. I forget to. I was going to start to, but I also just want to say, look, you're going to fall in love with me one day, chat, YouTube. I know. We've just met. She has a magnetic personality. I know she's the star of the show for now. I'm not upset about it. I am perfectly aware of it. Look, we're going to be best friends, chat. I know it's going to happen. Give me some time, but I know who's bringing the crowds right now. I'm under no self-deception to think otherwise.
You're a lovable person. Hey, if Usopp can be loved, certainly you can.
Oh God. What a comparison. All right. I wasn't gonna bring this onto the YouTube video, but that kind of makes it worth it. That's kind of funny.
Okay, so as we're moving on, we get to see right away that things are going to be different, because immediately we go into like a snowstorm.
Yep.
Love that choice. We open the page and all of a sudden, yeah, as soon as you change pages and you go from the last chapter into chapter 106, boom, snow. And you're like, wait a minute, what the hell? Like, we just left a tropical beach. How did they get into the snow? As the ship sails on, the season turns to freezing, winter, and sometimes spring. And you're like, I'm going to love this. We definitely have gone into a new place now. We're not in Kansas anymore. I love this idea that right away Oda is like, what if seasons in a day? And then you're like, yeah, that would really help to explain how weird it is here and how much you have to rely on these logs. Also, just as a side note, I really love that when we see Usopp, who, by the way, is a great artist. I mean, his snow piece is definitely better than the one that Luffy makes.
I really give Usopp a ton of talents, just not ones that always are relevant.
Okay, so it's interesting because you and I had a little talk about this before, and it feels like, and when I told you, like, I really think that Usopp is going to become like the tinker, the person who's always got all these different, like, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, we played that game that you like, that board game.
Oh, and alchemist is the word you're looking for, yeah.
Yeah, like he's an alchemist, but he's an alchemist tinker. Like, it's both of them. But I also like that he's like a great artist, a great thing. And it seems like practice was involved, because you and I were talking about this, and it feels like Usopp is the most human of all of them. He is the one that I would call, like, when you're reading Indigenous First Peoples stories, the raven, not the crow, the raven and the coyote are often the human characters in stories. And so the things that they do are kind of the antics of humans. And I feel like Usopp feels weird when we're talking about them all being human, but I feel like Usopp is the one that's the most human and is the one that's going to have to continue to do human type things, that isn't going to have like the godlike skills of swordsmanship and all these other things. And so I thought it was really cool that they showed this human moment of him sculpting and this beautiful piece he made. And then just as a side note, I love that the feet in this, I was looking back, and the feet on a ton of them are a little bit larger. And given the history around feet and feet size, I felt like that meant something, that it was pretty cool that the women's feet were larger and would actually like sit underneath them and carry them. Because when you think about the history of women and shoe size in some cultures, especially cultures that would influence this, to see them be so big made me feel like a great sense of joy, because I noticed it first in another chapter, and then especially when Usopp made his snow woman.
I struggle to want to give Oda props for feminist character design with the waists and busts, but I think there's not nothing to that. That at the very least, it's counterculture and makes them look more human.
Well, when you think about even like foot binding in China, but also just in Japan, the idea of having tiny feet sitting on top of tiny shoes with geisha that they would move slowly through, and that hobbling a woman's feet is often a symbol for making sure that she can't run, be outside of the home, have free movement, because your feet are the thing that allows you to have free movement and agency. And taking feet down to an abnormal size or hobbling them in heels, like in Western culture, the idea of having incredibly high stilettos, etc., makes it so that women aren't able to have that same freedom of movement, which is a type of agency. So it was really interesting for me when the feet were larger, because it feels like feet being larger allows all the female characters in this to have freedom of movement. So it isn't something, but it's also something.
Chat has made it clear that I need to cut that bit from the YouTube video to avoid what the comment section will look like.
Oh my God. Opening up foot talk.
Yeah. Thank you, chat, for making this one very, very easy to know. Observations aside, that one doesn't make it, actually.
Okay, so when we move through, the things that are going on in the ocean for me in this section aren't a huge thing to talk about. I do like how they made it clear that she has to keep her eyes on the prize, that the minute she took her eyes off of the log pose, boom, absolutely turned around and had to move everything back around again. So I think the space in here only did a couple of things. It made sure that we understood how important the log pose was, how much we have to pay attention to it. And we get to see them moving and then we scrape an iceberg. We see Luffy save them in that moment. But for me, it was, although I do love the idea that Zoro sleeps through the entire thing. And as everybody is freaking out and absolutely decimating themselves to stay safe, Zoro then just wakes up and is like, hey, where are we and what's going on? Fast. That's fantastic, though, because it's a great contrast to what happens in the next section where Zoro gets to be all Zoro-y.
Yep. I was hoping you'd bring that up if you were going to bring up that he was sleeping during the snowstorm.
Yeah, so I adore that they have it be like all these things are happening. They're all trying to keep themselves alive. They're struggling their ass off, and it takes all of them to keep the ship afloat and to keep on track. And Zoro's like, I'm just going to have a little snooze here. And then boom, absolute reversal when we go into the next phase and everybody else is sleeping and Zoro's like, yeah, I'll take care of this. I got it. Not a problem.
Don't worry, fam. I gotcha.
Why don't you just take a little nappy nap?
An observation I've heard that I really like about that is Zoro makes it clear he sleeps when he feels safe, and he knows his crew can handle a disaster. He doesn't know they can handle trickery and chicanery.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it felt like, is that he was like, yeah, you guys are in charge here. You got this. I'm going to take a nap. I got to do a healing. I don't know if you heard this. I was nearly a zombie. And when he comes out on the other side, he comes out healthier for it.
You know that you got real fucked up when the bad guy goes, bruh, take a rest.
Maybe you should take some time off. We're fighting, but I suggest you rest.
Hey, I might be evil, but if you thought you gotta go to the bench, my man, like you shouldn't be up here.
So first leg of our journey, we go to a giant island, or an island of giant cactuses.
Yeah, just big old cactuses, nothing else, nothing to them.
No.
No?
No.
What do you think of Whiskey Peak as our first island we see in the Grand Line?
Okay, so first, can I just mention that I'm super excited that we're doing it as islands, and especially within the way that he set it up, so that as you're going through each of the places and he's saying that you can have completely different biomes, because that's what the part that was really just seemed like filler. It also was an opportunity when he was saying we're going to go into different biomes and environments and they're going to happen just like that. So it wouldn't be ridiculous now to have a place that was fully frozen, which we obviously will at some point. How could we not? Or to have a place that's giant ass cactuses or whatever. So biomes don't matter. It lets every single island be that much more exciting and that much more interesting, that we know every time we go to a new island, it can be a completely new thing.
I do like it. It immediately gives a sense of adventure that I feel like could exist a bit in the East Blue, but you still, when you went to a new island, you knew it was going to be like an island that climatologically made sense with the things around it. Whereas once you're at the Grand Line, you're like, oh, I have no fucking idea what we're going to run into.
Yeah, there's no such thing as we have something similar that we can glean, and therefore it may be this. No, it may be anything. There's no such thing now as it could be this. It literally could have giant candy canes. It could be an island of miniature. You never know what you're getting now.
I do love it.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know what's one of your strangest island predictions you can come up with. You can think on that till the end if you want, but just like an idea for a type of island you think we're going to see.
Okay, well, let's put that down.
Yeah, we're going to put that down until the end, but I think that's fun to add to the predictions. I wanted to hear your predictions today on what you think a future Straw Hat might be like now that we're entering the Grand Line, but Luffy doesn't have the crew of 10 he said he wanted.
What a strange moment that Luffy was like, oh, you're a doctor? You should be a doctor for our ship. And he doesn't continue to pester and harass him. That was the very first time he didn't continue to pester or harass somebody after they said, like, no, I'm doing this thing.
I gotta think. Well, it's because he cares about Laboon, and he's like, you're right.
No, I completely understand. But it was just the first time ever that he was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. So Whiskey
let's
Peak.
Put straw hats down and let's put islands. I'm going to put a little note. Yeah. Straw hat. Island. Got her. Okay. Boom. Moving on in. They jump off the boat. Seems weird. Seems like a weird way to do it. You know what? By the way, could we get like a little rowboat? I would like it if my crew could have a little rowboat to get themselves to shore. It would feel nice. It's a nice way to get places.
Not have to just dock constantly. They can have some sort of mini Mary to get them to the shore.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a nice thing? I'd really love to see that for them. So that's not a prediction. That's a hope. I hope they get a freaking rowboat. Okay. I don't understand this, so I have questions. So let's get to it. Right here, it says there's an island full of monsters. We might have to stick around for days. Yep, that I get. We have to sail up the river because it's there. Yeah, of course, Luffy. What a Luffy thing to say. I like how good his scar is showing when he says that, just as a reminder. That he's like, hey, we have to do this thing because it's there. Let me make this scar super visible. They go up the river of this island to get through it eventually to the other island?
Oh, God. I should have skimmed this section. I do not remember the topography well enough. If someone in chat can confirm if that's true or not. But they do go up the river to dock. I need to know. Yeah. They go up river to dock at least.
No, I know that. They go up the river to dock. But when they leave, do they go out of the river first?
I thought so, but...
And around, or do they go through? Yeah, like that's my wonder. Because I was like, I feel like we went up the river and then we went through the river.
Huh. I thought they just left. I did not remember them going through Whiskey Peak, but I could be mistaken. Okay, the island is divided in half by a river, someone's saying, so they think you're right.
Yeah, so they do. They sail through all of the island to the other side. Okay. Fascinating. This cactus island is fascinating. I keep asking, like, I know that I can't overthink it, but I'm like, why did he choose cactuses as the first thing?
Chat, it's been revealed what the cactus's deal is, right? Like, I thought it had by this point. Because you've read ahead, and I thought once they left the islands, we knew what the cactuses were.
Let me see.
You might have missed something.
I wrote it down.
Chat'll tell us that way. Yes, okay. So you must have missed it because it actually got revealed that the cactuses are just big round hills covered in tombstones.
Okay. So when I read that and he said I would rather 8 new tombstones, and he was looking at that, I mistook the area that he was pointing to rather than thinking it as in a whole island. That makes a lot more.
Oh, you thought he was just pointing to a graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's the entire island is around
and you know
hills.
What? Picture here, right there, where it goes, and so when it goes doom, and it shows the thing, and then it says the name on one of the tombstones, and then showed tons and tons of different tombstones. I thought that he was pointing to one graveyard area. I didn't, and now that I look at it again, it's super obvious. Thank you very much, chat.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I was pretty sure it was there. This is another section that I haven't gone back to read. I've just watched it, and the anime makes it very, very clear. Impossible to miss that. Yeah, no, this island is giant round hills made of tombstones.
But it's also interesting because it brings up the point when somebody had asked at one point whether or not I was reading in color or black and white. Mm-hmm. And there's been a couple of times where I think that color would have helped me make a distinction that I wasn't able to make as quickly in black and white. And I was like, I wonder...
I wish there was an easy legal way to get access to the colored manga.
Yeah, I might have to just deal with it because it's interesting that because I think that if things had been in color, it would have been really clear. Mm-hmm. But in black and white, things are a little harder to pull out. And I was looking at some pictures. Precise. Yeah, and I don't know if you know this. I like me some precision.
You do. You have tried to research every name.
I'm starting to wonder though if I need to go through a chapter and write a list of names and kind of look at them first and then read the chapter, because I can't count how many times I'm like, oh, I wish I'd known that name earlier and I didn't bother to look it up. And then it turns out the name is something that kind of like Bashiri means prophet or foreteller. And
oh, that's fun.
And when I found out that that was Bashiri's name, well, it completely changed the way in which I would have looked at his character, and I wanted to go back and reread the piece there again. And so it made me think, like, maybe I need to look at the names first and then go back. I don't know. I think I'd love to ask people if they think I should move into color, find a way to go into color, or if black and white is
I think I've heard from a lot of people that a first-time read-through is better in black and white, even though the color can be easier at points. Because the color is not done by Oda, it's done by a colorist team afterwards.
Okay, that's interesting.
Man does not have time for color.
No, I could imagine he doesn't, given what he's doing.
So Whiskey Peak,
so we go on this island.
Yeah.
You know what was really cool about this island? Like, right away, we find out that this system is going to be, is it Crocodile Face?
Crocodile is the warlord that we found out runs Baroque Works in this arc.
And he appears to be one of the 7 warlords, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so right away we come to the island and it's like, you're at the beginning of the islands. All the islands start here. It's a cool idea that it's cactuses, even though the entire thing is covered with graves, even though, given the way it's drawing, that means lots of them are sideways, which is like, whatever, you do you.
Yeah.
Bury your dead the way you bury your dead. But it's interesting because the island doesn't have enough food. The island doesn't have enough resources to survive. The river cuts right through the section of the island, which is what I thought, which would make it not even have a lot of fresh water.
Yeah, it's just a saltwater river. It's just it's more of a pass than a river.
Exactly, which makes it so that at the beginning of the islands, you're literally getting almost nothing. You're not going to see the interesting flora and fauna. It's not deeply rich. And yet there's a ton hidden in this, just like a real desert. Like you go out into the desert and there's sand and shrub and there's not really, it feels like anything. And then if you dig down a little bit or a little rain happens, things bloom. You find out that there's rabbits hiding in burrows. There's all these different animals around. You're just not seeing them. So there's a richness of things to learn in here, but it appears to be just a barren landscape. And that's kind of what you do, because suddenly you realize that these people, this is where you find out about how everybody is connected to this crocodile person, and that the closer you get to Zero, the more powerful you are. And when we got to number 5, what was the gum that number 5 had?
His devil fruit was, I think, called the bomb fruit. He can turn any part of his body into an explosive.
Yeah, and not.
Yeah.
He used boogers multiple times, and I was eating at the time.
Okay, you tell me you need to bomb someone. You don't want to punch them. You need something that's a part of your body that can be thrown at them. What are you picking?
I want him to have mucus and spit. Like, yeah, is snot good? But how much snot does one person make? Does he make extra snot now? I guess he gets extra snot. And if he doesn't use it for bombs, what does it blow up his face? So, whatever. It's not. I was reading.
So we did meet Miss Valentine here. I thought so.
He did choose to have a panel earlier on, too, where he showed Luffy just picking his nose randomly. Just one little panel. Yeah, and I was like, I'm glad we took a moment to have Luffy pick his nose, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, and now we're having a nose-picking bomber. Yeah, that makes sense. I also love that he went with the trope right away. We get to the first place, and it's that lull you into a feeling of safety, have a celebration, oh, we're so glad to see you, feed you, take care of you, fatten you up, and then use you. So I loved that was the very first island. I thought that was a fantastic way to do that.
Immediate trap from a town that pretends to love pirates.
Yeah. absolutely sets precedent for everything that's going to take place from now on. And plus we know the system that we're working with, and you're wondering like, okay, who else are we going to meet along the way, and how close to zero are we going to get? How fast are we going to get there? And what does the zero mean? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Where am I? Notes. Oh, there I am. Yeah, I'm glad that his hair had something in, is it Igarapoi? Igarapoi? The mayor of Whiskey Peak?
God, I cannot remember what that name was. Igaram.
Igarapoi?
Igaram is how I've heard it pronounced in the anime.
All right. Weird. Mr. 8. Okay. I'm glad that we had an explanation for his crazy ass hair. He reminded me of those things in the rolling game.
Igaram.
Okay. Igaram. What's the rolling game?
Katamari Damacy?
Yeah. He reminded me of Katamari Damacy. When you roll about and you collect things, he reminded me of one of the princes with his crazy hair.
It does kind of have Katamari Damacy cousin, I think they're called, cousin energy.
Yeah. And then I'm not sure if he's dead. I mean, it says he's dead at the end of this, and it showed his little weird strange little decoys that he was carrying with him, which seemed like a really strange note to put there. Like, why would they have him carrying these little decoys with him? Mm-hmm. And then when you see the boat blown up and the decoys are floating there, you're like, oh, that's so that we know that it was him and that he died. Well, then why didn't they just show his body? So, yeah, no.
So you're suspicious about his death?
No, I say no. I say no. I say foul play.
Foul play. This man's alive.
This man is a living thing, and there's going to be more to it. Because, okay, the idea that this secret society is so secret that nobody knows any of the secrets, and that if you break any of the secrets, P.S., somehow the crocodile face dude knows immediately. Somebody will know immediately and let him know so that you are murdered. I mean, great plan if you're trying to keep a secret, let's be honest. But it feels like when the princess and her regent person who's supposed to be taking care of her are found out and he puts himself out in the ocean, you're like, in a secret society that's this secret, there has to be way more layers. So he has to be triple, quadruple agent. So let's see where that goes. And right. I love that when they're having a party in it, that each one of the things somehow, how do they know the thing that matters most to each one of them? The proving toughness, the having all these women, the drinking under the table. It's like they all know the thing that would pull in each one of these characters.
My take is it's just a shortcut of them like trying things out and seeing what works really quick and just being talented con artists that like really quick are like, oh, this is what's working with each person.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if we were not seeing something more to it than that.
Yeah.
So I think what the problem is, but let's just take a moment here.
Okay.
Let's have a standing ovation for Zoro. Like having this fight scene of Zoro, and
Zoro
finding out
the arc again, yeah.
Once again, Zoro somehow knows everything and is alive. So everyone else is hunted down, but somehow Zoro managed to live. A true swordsman never drinks himself into a stupor. And then he said, and a den of bounty hunters can be a dangerous place. You trick pirates into celebrating, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, I'll take you on, Baroque works. And then they're all like, ugh. And he knew they exist long ago when I was in your line of work. An organization tried to recruit me and naturally turned you down. So they already know, he already knows so much about them. Somehow he doesn't get murdered. And you're like, how's that possible? Oh, here's the panel I missed. Tombstones to adore the cactuses. One more tombstone to adore. I needed that. Yeah.
Oh, all right. I missed one panel. Okay.
Yeah, no, that explains everything. I had a moron moment and missed a panel because I was so excited about Zoro revealing all the crap, and I got so hung up on Zoro.
It's so fucking badass for Zoro to just be like, you knocked out my crew, sure. Y'all ready to be corpses?
Yeah. Absolutely. So that was the problem. I think the whole problem is, while Zoro was Zoroing, I'm like, it's Zoro. And he's Zoroing. And I can't focus on anyone else because he's too awesome right now. And everyone else is saying really important plot points. And I'm like, shut up! You're getting in the way of Zoro doing his cool crap.
Zoro's being cool.
I need you to quit interrupting him while he's trying to murder you. So that's what was going on here. And I missed the panel that I just saw now. Sorry, panel. Sorry, Oda. It is what it is. Don't make Zoro so cool. I'll see all the panels.
Even reading weekly, sometimes I'll get so up in the hype that I'll go and read the comments after that people have about a new chapter and be like, what the fuck? How did I miss that?
Where the hell was that?
Where was that? How'd that happen?
I tell kids all the time, dude, first read through isn't going to do you anything. So, yeah, lesson learned. And then he knows everything about Baroque works.
Yep.
You're a bunch of Baroque works, a bunch of crooks who's loyally obey him. He knows everything. And of course, the identity of the boss and his whereabouts are a mystery to everyone. Oh, was that a secret? My God, Zoro. Why don't you just high five yourself? Because, damn. And then they all go after him, and he literally decimates all of these people who are coming after him. Like, just why are you going after Zoro when he's so cool? What? But the thing that made this even cooler was then, once again, it hypes up my main man Hawkeye, because if Zoro knows all these things, if they tried to recruit him, if he could have been in this area with them already, then it's pretty crazy to think about how easily Hawkeye beat him.
Oh yeah, it puts Hawkeye at another level that he disarmed Zoro this easy when Zoro is this far above your average bounty hunter. In your opinion, you have to guess, how far down the numbers do you have to get to someone, not who can beat Zoro, but just someone who can, like, put up a fight at all, not just be fodder like all of these people? Because Mr. Nine is here and he's nothing. So how low of a number do you need before you can slow down this man?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I started to question, what number would Zoro have been? And Zoro, according to what we know about him, hasn't even eaten a devil fruit.
Yep, he has not.
And might I just say, yet.
Yet? You think Zoro might get a devil fruit one day?
I just want him to get a devil fruit. I don't know if this is a prediction so much as a wish.
There's actually a lot of people who are Zoro fans who hope that he never does, because they want Zoro to be able to be this cool without a devil fruit forever. Yeah,
and I absolutely can see that as well. But there's something, maybe he can just get a longevity devil fruit, so we never have to worry about him going away.
Some sort of devil fruit that can extend his lifespan.
Exactly. So we can Zoro out all over the place. Yeah, all the time I try not to think that Zoro is the coolest thing since sliced bread. And I'm always like, damn, but he just is the coolest thing since sliced bread.
He wouldn't be stealing the arcs this often if he weren't.
Yeah, I love him taking out his sword and seeing like, all right, let's see what this sucker can do. And yeah, it can do some stuff. Absolutely.
There are these things called a bridge series where people take an anime and they make it into a more comedic, concise version as a fan project. They're less popular now, but they used to be huge. And this is a scene where I've always imagined an abridged series would have Zoro have them all show up and be like, you know, the worst part of making a new purchase is you don't know when you're going to get a chance to try it out. The next day, you people are too kind.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see Zoro fight. Let me see where we get to the point where I love the idea that he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna fight until, or sorry, I'm not gonna sleep and drink and eat when we're in a situation where I could be hurt at any moment. Like, I'm a true swordsman. Bite me. Then we've got Miss Monday. I keep wondering, because we had Miss Monday, if the closer you were to the beginning of the week, and what do they consider the beginning of the week, the stronger or better you were, and I couldn't decide.
Yeah, I think with the women, there's no trend towards power from what I've been able to gather.
Yeah, I don't adore that. I want a trend towards power.
They are ranked with the men who are at the same rank of power as them, is what you can do it by. So if someone's partnered with Mr. Nine, they are the 9th most powerful woman.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna really enjoy the arc around his sword, because when he said, "It sliced through that stone mallet," what? And then he said, "Katetsu 3 has a great edge, but a legendary sword should only cut when its master wants it to. This one's a problem child." I was like, this sword having a mind of its own, that's delightful for me. I am really hoping this sword gets us into some places that we otherwise would not have gotten into. So I so looking forward to seeing where this sword takes us. And I think that there's going to be some kind of a piece where this sword ends up forcing Zoro's hand.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Fighting all the people. Little kid tries to kill him. Little kid, do you know who you're fighting against? Okay, so now let's move through our fight here to where we get to the...
Real quick, I'm just going to say, I think I can come up with a counterpoint to everything that you guys have said for why there is a ranking system for the women's names. I just don't think there is, because there are lots of examples you can look at for why the weekdays are not... Someone said weekdays are stronger than holidays. Someone said holidays are weaker than weekdays. So I think by the fact that people have said the exact opposite things, we should just agree that there's not really a power ranking system for the women's names.
Yeah, I would like to see, like, if we could have a power system and we find out later on, that would be interesting. But I think we shall see. I like that they called it Baroque works, by the way, because Baroque is such a period of the classical pieces and looks, but Baroque is all about being layered and over the top. And Baroque is all about being like the type of thing where everything is gilded edges and secrets within secrets and layered hierarchy. And so then I said to myself, is it possible that we've got this alligator Face, who's one of the 7?
I love how Face has no part of that guy's name, and you cannot stop calling him Crocodile Face. And then this time, it's not even Crocodile Face; it's Alligator Face. Don't get me wrong. It's very Luffy-like that when someone's not a crewmate, you don't bother saying their name.
I've done this. I noticed I was listening back at one of our pieces to try to remember something that I had said, and I was like, "Did I say that?" And then I looked. And I noticed I've done it before. No, I like doing that. I'm fine with it. It's okay. It's canon. So Crocodile Head is, I'm wondering if it's layered within layered. Like when we get up to 0, then you're like, that can't be the end. Well, is he number 7 then? And then we have to go through all of the other ones and they have more strength? I don't know. I think
Vivi did say that Mr. Zero is Crocodile. I'm pretty sure that Vivi said
no,
that.
I mean, but he's one of the 7 warlords, right?
Ah.
Is he number 7? And is number 1 the strongest? Or are they in any particular order? That's the thing that I started to wonder. Because if you're counting backwards for strength to get up to Crocodile Head, then are we also counting backwards for strength in the numbers of the of all of our pirates, of our pirate warlords? So then I started to think that, okay, then he might be number 7 and we're on this island and he's so powerful for this island, but he's really not, he's not the big. And then we would, each of those, because Baroque is this layered system. So I'm like, you're not going to be meeting the biggest big. I mean, we did get to see Hawkeye on the other hand, but you're not going to be meeting the biggest bigs right away. So it makes you think that we're seeing, if this was a kimono, we're seeing the outside of the kimono. And we still have all these other layers of the story. So that's how I thought it was kind of like a mixture between the Baroque, which is kind of like a layered, intricate. Baroque is often thought of as being intricate. And then they're talking about secrets within secrets within secrets. And I was like, maybe one of your secrets is that the further we go in with these pirate people, who's the stronger they get or the closer they get to what's the most important. I don't know. We'll see.
We will see. So now, after Zoro's been Zoro, there's a contentious point here. There's a greatly debated and disliked part right after.
Okay, does everyone hate this as much as me? I hate that Luffy immediately expected the worst.
Everyone hates it.
And I kept trying to, like, I read that chapter when he first fights him and when he first gets angry. I reread it 3 times.
It feels out of character for Luffy. It doesn't feel right. It is complained about at length by a lot of people. The best explanation I've heard, it is the best explanation I've heard, is that this was when Oda wasn't the big shit, the king of the hill. It could do whatever he wants. No one can tell him what to do, because editors traditionally have a lot of power over manga. Oda's editors don't have nearly as much power as used to be the norm, because people realize how meticulous his storytelling is. But the best theory, that I've heard is that an editor told Oda to have them fight somehow. Triggy, do we have proof of that? Because I've heard that, but I haven't seen like a source for it. But it makes sense to me that it would be, because in the era that he was first starting out, editors traditionally could just tell their mangaka to do stuff if they felt like it would be good.
Yeah, I thought that was ridiculous. It wasn't only that it was outside the character, because traditionally when Luffy goes on one of his Luffy moments, and overreacts and jumps into something without thinking, which is, a fair bit, that when he's talked to, they can bring him down quickly. And this, like, he just wouldn't hear anything. And this is a member of his team. He has faith in his team in a way that he doesn't have faith in other people. And it seemed really not only out of character, but it seemed to break a bit of trust with the Straw Hats. And I just thought, that's a mistake.
I've heard people say that, well, they've only been traveling together like a month, so this is just the uncertainties. I don't know. That doesn't feel right, with Luffy being someone who's like, I don't need to know if this guy's evil or not. He made you cry. Tell me who to beat the fuck up, Nami. I'm going to do it. Like,
yeah,
it feels against character, and in an uncomfortable way. I don't like it. Again, the best explanation I've ever heard is that because he wasn't basically the king of Shonen Jump magazine, that at this point his editors still had power and were able to say, people have been wanting to know who's stronger between Zoro and Luffy, they should fight.
But it didn't prove anything. Yeah, it didn't prove anything. If that's the case, then I really enjoy how he did it, where he was like, oh, you want to know something? I made them fight, but you know nothing. Like, no information was gained.
Yeah.
I also just want to put it out there that Peru the Ultra Spot Bill, that name basically means ducky. So she named her big, powerful birdie Ducky. And
her supersonic duck is named Ducky.
Yeah. And I'm here for that all day long.
Oh, I love that. That actually reminds me that, did you know that Cerberus is based off of an ancient Greek word meaning spotted? So Cerberus is named Spot.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah. So...
Oh, also, yeah, I want to mention, because I went back to take a look at your picture, by the way, that's coming along awesome. Somebody said Nami is stronger here, or something. So when they're fighting...
Oh, no, they're saying Nami's stronger because Nami ended the fight. That's how it turned out.
Nami punches them both in the face, and they both fall on their ass. And so I'm like, well, basically then did we find out that Nami can kick both their asses? Because somebody who had eaten a devil fruit couldn't do it. But Nami came along and was just like, one-punched both of them in the face and knocked them on their ass. And so if Oda was forced to do this, I love that in the end his decision was like, okay, they're going to have an epic fight. Then Nami's going to punch them both in the face and knock them on their ass. That would make me so happy.
If he was forced to do it by an editor, I do like that as an explanation of his choice to end it. Like, if you want to know who's stronger, all right, fuck you, it's Nami, the person who didn't even fight in Arlong Park, the person who did CPR in the last battle.
Yeah, exactly. Stunning. And so in that case, I was like, yeah, that was a very good way to do it. So I'm going to put that in my head for now, and then if it's not true, it's not true, but it's going to make me happy.
Yeah, I've never seen proof one way or another, but I know most people like to think we can disregard it. It was an editor because people don't like it. It's not liked.
So we meet Mr. Five and Valentine in here.
Yeah.
And they get their asses literally kicked before that fight. So then I'm sitting there and going, they were easily able, just as a, by the way, and it was just as like a side note. They kind of beat the crap on them as a side note because they got in the way of their fight.
Yeah.
Before Nami knocks them out. And I was like, whoa, we have really leveled up in the how powerful we already are. Has there been some change since they've come across?
I
Because
think it really just is that they were the biggest fish in the East Blue. Like, and to the rest of the world, these dudes are a big deal. Like, they're ready for the Grand Line.
Yeah, but they're not only ready for the Grand Line. Like, when you're beating up number 5 and Valentine, that's beyond ready for the Grand Line.
Mm-hmm. It's also worth noting, though, that they're going up against, it's just the two, I mean, it's not just the two of them, because there's a bunch of people lower than them, but other than fodder, it's just the two of them against, like, the heavy hitters of the Straw Hats.
Yeah. It is also the thing that made me think that, one of the clues that makes me think that that there may be some order to the warlords, because if they're kicking number 5 in this area, there's going to have to be way bigger fish than them, because we've already saw that Hawkeye is kicking ass, right? Yeah. And so not everyone can be that low. So when they're kicking number 5's ass is that easy, and Valentine, then I start to say too, like, that's suspicious, and makes me feel like we're not seeing one of the stronger groups.
I think that's a fair assessment from what you have as information, that it seems like Crocodile wouldn't be at Mihawk's level as a warlord.
Excuse me, Crocodile face.
I'm not gonna. You can do that all you want. I'm gonna put some respect on Sir Crocodile's name. That man has a knighthood. Apparently, he goes by Sir Crocodile. Who knighted him? All right. Anyways.
Okay. Moving forward, I'm gonna move. Do you want to spend any more time talking about that fight?
No, or the fight between Zoro and Luffy, or the fight between Mr. Five and the crew and Miss Valentine.
No, Zoro and Luffy.
No, it's bad. I don't know.
I was actually a little sad not to see Mr. Five and Miss Valentine a little more, because he's bringing the aesthetic to the table. Like that long jacket with the 5 down on both of the sides.
Mr. Five has drip.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that comic that you used to read, Romantically Apocalyptic. And there was something about him that felt that kind of vibe of like end of the world cool, Matrix cool.
I think it definitely has a Matrixy vibe. It's a really cool aesthetic.
Yeah. And then but then look, literally, they just punch him in the face and then drag his body across the thing, and now he looks like Frankenstein. He looks like he's made of bits and pieces, like just that easy. No. Thanks for punching them, Nami. Thanks for doing Oda a favor and just turning their fight into the absolute disgrace it was. Okay, moving on.
Moving on. What do you think about the reveal that we are going after a warlord, that Miss Wednesday was in fact a princess of a kingdom called Alabasta or Arabasta? I've seen both. And that we need to take on a warlord.
It's Alabasta. How could it be Arabasta?
Same way that Logtown and Roguetown.
But it's an L, and we don't generally pronounce our R's.
No, but anything that's an R or an L in Japanese, because Luffy, L's aren't really a thing in Japan, and Oda was very insistent that it's Luffy, not Rufy. So in general, in One Piece, we don't know if there's R's or L's, because Oda thinks about how things are pronounced in English.
Okay, I see.
So it's either Alabasta or Arabasta. I've heard both. I like Alabasta better.
Baroque workers have been inside of the kingdom of Alabasta, pulling it down from the inside. Because it makes sense that they would be trying to take over something that isn't just a remote, giant cactus-looking cemetery place, and that they'd be looking for something that was more long-term. I've got to stop my people from throwing before they throw themselves into the Baroque works clutches.
Mm-hmm.
This princess, okay, where was it that everyone gasps? Here we go. Oh, God. Okay. I'm still kind of iffy on this decision about her to just, by the way, talk about, oh, yeah, here it is, Sir Crocodile. They're absolutely right. Crocodile's face name is Sir Crocodile. That she just drops his name. That's not an accident. She keeps talking about what an accident it is, but you know that she damn well knows that as long as she forces them to be in it too, then they're going to have to help her out at a different level. So, you know,
I had never thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense. Like, oops, now he'll try to kill you. Oh, whoopsie doopsie.
Because at first she tells them, oh, I can't tell you. It's really important that you don't know the name or he'll go after you. And she tells them how important it is that she doesn't tell them the name. And she's been in a secret society for how long? And she's managed to infiltrate it with some success at first, prior to them finding out who she is. And then she just accidentally, while talking, blurts the name of Sir Crocodile Face. No, I'm sorry. You definitely did that on purpose, princess. Nice try.
I can just tell you, not confirmed for sure, because I'm surprised by this revelation. I think you're right. Like, if she can be an undercover agent for years, I think that she can also manage to not say the secret identity to people she just met. I do think that was probably intentional. Like, these people seem like they have a better chance of doing this than I do. I'm
100%. 100%. So she doesn't have her partner with her anymore.
It is a good gag, though. You're right.
And she's used to working in a partnership. And then, yeah, is it a good gag? Yeah, but why can't you have it be two things? So she forces their hand by telling them how dangerous it would be if they knew the name, then tells them the name. I mean, it's a freaking genius way to deal with it. And then she knows eyes and ears are everywhere. And if you look at the comic in the panels, she is facing them. They are facing, all three of them are facing her. She can see the roof above behind them where the vulture and the otter are.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the way that it's set up, the way that it is set up would make it so that she would be letting them know how dangerous it would be for them to know who he was, and then telling him who the hell it was and making it look like oh no, what an accident. The poor little princess who could infiltrate a system that is layered and secretive for many years and be a killer, accidentally told you a name. Like, look, no.
I do think Oda does just like the kind of gag, but whether or not it's true, I'm going to choose to believe she did it on purpose because it's more fun that way.
She 100% did. In my world,
all right.
In my world, it's too late. It's done. And so then they take her on the boat because they have no choice. Then we see the great skills of the otter to draw pictures. Wow, you're good. Without thumbs. Well done, otter. You gotta love that. Okay, so this is why I think that dude who sings is, God, you gotta love him in drag. His drag is stunning. The dude who sings, you've got to think for sure that he's still alive, because why are they showing those dummies he's carrying? What are these dummies? The dummies' faces are made up of Japanese text. They don't translate into anything, though. Yeah, thanks a lot, Oda. Now I'll obsess about that too. So Igaram, why are you dressed up like that? Listen carefully. So I'm going to do this and beat Mr. Five and his partners. You did this, but Sir Crocodile once had a bounty of 80 million berries on his head. But he doesn't really explain why he has these dummies with him.
I think it's just that the boat looks more full, so that it looks like it's all of them.
Yeah, sure. They don't really look like him, though. So, or look like the people who were on it, and people aren't going to mistake the dummies. So it really feels like the dummies were there so that we could just see the dummies floating in the water later on, which would give us the impression that he had been murdered, but he actually has not.
All right.
So
you are fully on board with Igrom is not dead.
he is definitely not dead. But the eternal pose remembers one location forever. No matter where you go, it'll always find the same point on the island. That is going to mean something later on. 100%.
I love the eternal pose, especially because Oda introduces this reason to island hop island to island and never venture and just like perfectly justify an adventure series, and then immediately is like, here's a way around it.
Exactly. That was really love.
It's what I talked about in the Combelt, that he doesn't want to have simple, cheap answers. He wants to have simple answers to why there's a way you should do it, but have it be a world where things don't need to go that way, where people have lived in this world and come up with solutions.
100%. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, he says that they're dummies of them. He does, and I remember that. But they're too short, they're too small, they're too everything. So I think that's dumb. Till we meet again in our homeland. And you got to remember, like, if he is supposed to be protecting the princess, and he says, until we meet again in our homeland, and you're talking about the people who would have to disrupt in the kingdom would have to be much higher up. So you got to wonder if he's one of the disruptors, because who sows the seed and is part of the problem and works much higher up. Yeah, no, I have a feeling we'll be seeing Mr. Tight Rolls again in his Katamari Damacy, but maybe we'll get to see him without his Katamari Damacy hair. That'd be nice. And also, how convenient that they're standing on the shoreline so they can witness shit being blown up. Anything that would be blowing them up at that range would also see the four of them on shore.
Okay.
They're not that far away. I do love that Luffy goes, I liked that guy. I'm mad because that guy didn't suck at all. I love that.
So Igaram blows up. The crew heads forwards to who knows where next. Certainly not you. Certainly you didn't read the next portion and know where we're going.
What are you talking about? I would never do that.
You would never do that. And you certainly don't know what's next.
Was I only supposed to read to 113, not 114?
You're supposed to read to 114, sorry.
Yeah, no. We still had 114.
I forgot. I didn't realize we were on 113. What happens to 14?
He drags his people back. Really interesting that in one of these panels, in the very beginning of 113, he has the moon down low on the horizon and behind these two church steeples, and it actually looks like a face. And it looks like the moon is looking down on things and is alarmed by what it's seeing as it's staring at the boat. It's a really interesting panel. And then you're like, that's an interesting panel. So then he grabs his sleeping crew, drags them out onto the boat. Thankfully, the duck is already there because Ducky is smart duck. And that's when we see the dummies floating in the water, and we meet one of the coolest cats in the history of cool cats.
Oh, I forgot that this was now, yeah.
Which makes me think, how dare you try to go past Miss Sunday? And it's Miss All Sunday. And I love that. Yeah, she is one of the coolest cats. Now, we could have done an entire thing just on her. Miss All Sunday.
We could have had a 2-hour conversation about Miss All Sunday, the lady in a cowboy hat.
Hey, don't diss Miss Sunday. Miss All Sunday's got her stuff going on. Right. She is Baroque Works Vice President and Supreme Commander.
Yep.
That's a big to put out in the world.
No, she got a big title.
Yeah. That's a big level to put out into the world and show up on the deck just right away. So I love the idea that she gives them a hint on what they should do. Tells her, I knew who you were and I let you follow me to the princess. And then she says, I'm curious. You seem so earnest. I just had to help you. A princess declaring war on Baroque Works to save her country. How pathetic. And then somehow starts to give them tips on what they can do to survive. And then you're like, okay, which direction is this going? Can we trust her tips or can we not trust her tips? What is her fruit? Do we know? Her devil fruit?
Do you know? No idea.
Okay. Wow. Let me just get to this
I'd tell you the Japanese name to fuck with you, but you will look it up.
Oh, I will look it up. Is it translated from All Sunday? The Japanese name for All Sunday?
No. Has nothing to do with her title. Just like Valentine has nothing to do with the kilo fruit.
That makes sense.
But yeah, she has a devil fruit. You don't know what it is yet.
But she was able to flip them off the balcony like so easy. She was able to pull his hat up.
Yep.
And I didn't see air movements in his drawing.
There was no air movements. That is a good observation.
So that's why it was interesting, because lots of times with the devil fruit, there seems to be a component of using the stuff around to be able to do things. But in this one, it definitely can't be anything to do with air, because it feels like they did it themselves. Is there a kinesis here? Is she telling them to go off? But why wouldn't they know if they themselves were told to go off? Plus, you can't convince a hat to jump off the head. Good for you, Sanji.
So if you had to guess what this devil fruit does, I don't think there's any chance you could be right, but people want your guess.
Should that be in a prediction area then now in a minute?
I think we're ready to move into predictions. We're at the end here, and we're coming up on the end of the 2 hours I was aiming for before working on a long-term project and talking to someone who found the stream through this series. But yeah, let's move into predictions. So let's start with that. Let's start with predict for me. What do you think Miss All Sunday's devil fruit is? I don't think there's a chance you get it right.
Well, I love that I don't get it right. First of all, can we please give a nod? Can we give a nod to her turtle? Bunchy.
What? She is a turtle?
Yeah. She says, let's go, Bunchy. And
I forgot about the turtle named Bunchy.
Sails off into the water on her turtle, and you know me. The minute I met that turtle, I was like, she's now my favorite.
Every One Piece animal is immediately your friend.
Okay, so she's not using any air, but she's managing to put things down slowly. She is had people move away from her. She can't control. So electricity, he would have drawn something with some sort of lightning bolt or something so that we knew that it was, but everything is invisible. There's literally nothing visible.
I will say the visible element is being obfuscated for mystery. There is a visible element.
So there is a visible element in here.
Yeah.
Okay. But he is intentionally making it so that we can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's mind control, because generally when there's mind control, plus she can control not only people, but she can control items.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might be the devil fruit I want.
I think you will when you find out what it is for sure. I think this is the one that's going to top the Gum Gum. Because, spoiler alert, for the devil fruit tier list, I don't think it's changing much, because I don't think Kilo fruit or the Bomb fruit are topping Gum Gum, huh?
No, I think hers is going to be the one that I want, just from what I've seen so far. So I'm going to say she controls. God dang it. I'm aware of time, so I have to press it. Oh,
that's all good. I told the person who I'm talking to that we might be a tiny bit late. I don't think that's a huge issue.
Yeah, I'm going to say that you don't control air, lady, because... Do you control... Does she control particles? Does she control atoms? Does she control...
It's nothing that scientific or precise. With it basically, I was going to say with any devil fruit, but I think there's one exception where you could get into, okay, maybe it is scientific and precise for this one fruit.
Yeah, I absolutely don't know.
Oh, apparently hers is the devil fruit Oda wants. I didn't know that trivia. If he could have any devil fruit.
Really? Oda and I are on the same page. I want this one. Almost feels like she has ghosts, minions working for her, pushing people over. So in order to be really, really ridiculous, I'm going to go out on huge limbs and say that she has
You're going out on huge limbs to guess the fruit of Miss All Sunday. Got it.
That she has some sort of control over the dead. And she can use
over the dead.
She can use ghosts to move things around and do her bidding.
All of Thirsty Chat this whole time just been hyping up Miss All Sunday, by the way. She has control over our hearts, says someone. All right, you have the guess that she can control the dead, and it might be a ghost thing. We'll have to find out.
Yeah.
So, more predictions. We had predicted that Laboon's crew might be someone that you know. And you think they might be alive.
Yeah, I think... See, because I think a lot of people would say, like, it was obviously the King of the Pirates, right? Who... Laboon, I mean, it makes the most sense. If you're looking at timeline and how long he's been there and that kind of crap, then...
Someone pointed out to me in the comments that you do know a bit about the timeline, by the way, so you know that Luffy being Roger's son wouldn't make that much sense, because apparently they have said that he died 22 years ago.
I absolutely agree. I went back and had a look at it. My mystery brain got ahead of my reasonable brain. But I think then, but that's the other one that I still have, where it can be, could he be a reincarnation?
It could still be that.
But I went back and read the part, and we can talk about that later, with the dude in the cape. And why would I get in the way in somebody's destiny? And I've decided that I'm going to spend a little more time on him, thinking about him, because I'm cropping up a new idea. So I'm going to go back to that
cropping up a new idea for Cape Man Dragon.
Yeah, I've got some more ideas about Dragon.
Years? I thought it was 20. Oh, okay. I thought it was, people are confused in chat. It is somewhere around 20 years.
Yeah.
People are.
But I don't know. I don't know if the King of the Pirates. So I think it could be the King of the Pirates, who was Laboon's crew, but I think some of the crew could still be alive, and that the people inside of the crew, that one of them could have been like Crap Geezer could have traveled with him, and then when he was killed, they all didn't come back, but now they're going to go through and maybe we'll get to see Crap Geezer again or something. But then it would be more fun if it was an evils. When I think about, if I'm Oda, I'm going to want to make Laboon's people end up being some of the quote unquote baddies, because I think that that's a lot more interesting. So I was trying to think about who was older, and we haven't met that many old people. But then I was like, maybe somebody does have gum fruit that lets them age more slowly and gently. So yeah, but I think next time we talk, I'm going to come back to two things. Dragon and Laboon are going to have a little moment, but my prediction for now is, I'm just going to put out there, it could be a Crap Geezer Pirate King moment. Wouldn't be unheard of.
Okay. Now the next thing I wanted you to predict is, what kind of person do you want to join the crew next?
Yeah. So they do need a doctor. Like, obviously he made a very good point when he said, like, yeah, we need a doctor. Do you want to join us? So I'm hoping that the next person they get is going to be somebody with medical, especially since not everybody is a gum weirdo boy who likes to run into disasters. And so I kind of hope the next person is going to be somebody with medical ability, but I'm kind of thinking that would be too obvious. They're not going to give me that. You can just,
if you had to commit, is that what you'd pick though?
I would 100% pick a medical person.
There you go. I think that's good enough.
Yeah.
And oh boy, there was one other thing I wanted to ask you as we were closing out, but I can't remember. Because it's such a short section, I don't think we have big shakeups to our Devil Fruit tier list or to our favorite characters, right?
Oh, devil fruit now is whatever the hell Miss All Sunday has.
Without knowing what it is, you're committing.
I don't know what it is, and
this pedal goes up. We've committed. That's your preferred devil fruit before we know it.
Yeah. I can't hear you. You went no speakies there for a second.
Hopefully, Chuck could hear me.
And then today, my person at the top of the list is Miss All Sunday.
All you lovely people who've subbed or have enough points to buy an emote, this pedal goes up. We're committed. This All Sunday is Miss All Sunday's fruit is now the new fruit. We were committed.
And then my cast of characters that you always ask me to rate today, they are rated as follows: Miss All Sunday, because that's
Miss All Sunday's dethroned Mihawk.
Just today, Mihawk is overall #1 unshakable currently.
Okay.
Just in today's read, it's Miss All Sunday, then it's Zoro, then it's.
So this is the stars of this section.
And then Luffy.
Because Luffy tried to punch Zoro, so he's had to slide down in the pulls.
Luffy needs to be held back and have a little lesson. He's got a timeout in the corner.
He's going to have a timeout in the number 5 position, or 4, I don't remember, to think it over. Now, there's one last game I want to play with you, and I'm going to do this again when we reach my second favorite character. Okay. But in today's section, we, for the first time, have talked about my third favorite character. Actually, we've talked about my 5th favorite character also, but
yeah.
I don't want to guess that one. I don't want to play a guessing game with that one. I'm just going to do the top 3 as we go. Who here that we talked about today do you think is my third favorite character in all of One Piece? It's someone that we've brought up in today's discussion.
Are you kidding me? I can't hear you. You've gone a little deaf again, like a little non.
Chat, are you hearing me? Is this a problem on her end or my end? Oh boy. I want you to guess from the second we've talked about today who my third favorite character in all of One Piece is. Luffy's #1, number 2 and 3 when we reach them. I'm going to get you to guess.
And we only met them in this area?
This is the first time you and me have talked about them at the very least.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, they can hear me.
I remember before that you said to me, because the one thing that, like in spoiler alerts, you said to me, I won't like them.
No, my number 2 you won't like. My number 3, I'm not sure what your opinion will be.
Well, it's definitely not Miss All Sunday then, because you know how I feel about her. So I think your number 3 in that case is going to be oh, that's hard. It's not going to be the dude who was blown up, but he does come back. Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you it's not that. It's not him. I'm just gonna tell you it's not Spiral Hair Man.
Well, in that case, I'm gonna say the princess.
The princess, Princess Vivi, high on my tier list. Big fan. Love her to bits. No, sorry, it's Garp.
Darn you. It's what?
Garp. Garp is my third favorite character
of all time.
Of all of the series.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, you just gave me information that I can play with.
That I like Garp. I think Garp is great.
No, Garp continues. Now I'm going to go back and read Garp again.
I mean, like he's just a guy from a cover story, as far as you're aware. No, yeah.
Welcome to my scrutiny, Garp.
And then I'll just say it. I don't need to do a guessing game for this one. Number 5 is Miss All Sunday. That's my number 5 character.
Is number 5 Miss All Sunday?
Yeah, no, that's my 5th favorite. So we do meet my 3rd and my 5th in this section. Number 1's Luffy, and when we hit 2 and 4, I'll make you do a little guessing game.
Okay, I love me some Miss All Sunday, and I think she's going to be up there with my man Mihawk.
All right. Well,
and now that you've mentioned Garp, mistakes were made. I'm going to put that dude under such scrutiny.
I don't think, I will say, I have characters who are in my top that aren't that relevant. So just knowing I love them doesn't mean they're that big a deal. Does it mean they'll exist outside of a cover story? Yeah, Garp will exist outside of a cover story. That's the spoiler I'm giving you. But doesn't mean he's a huge deal.
Regardless. Screw
me. Next time, I got terrible news. It's another short section. I mean, the good news is for you, Chad, it means we'll be doing this again sooner. We might be able to do it in next week again. It's only 15 chapters. Little Garden is over at chapter 129.
And I'm already a little bit into it from my accidental dip in.
But this time only 2 chapters instead of 3 like last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to do Little Garden because I really think we're not going to dive into Little Garden enough if we do the island after as well.
I love what you've done with Laboon.
Thank you.
I don't love that I have to see in color his owies. That makes me really sad because that makes it even that much worse.
I feel like Laboon is a fun turning point because it's the first time Oda draws scars not as like stitches, which they stay forever apparently.
Yeah. Well, I've decided Laboon is one of my BFFs. I would ride Ducky and the Turtle over with my dog friend, and then we would hang out with Laboon and Cow.
I think someone wanted to see you do a tier list of the animals in One Piece. I think we gotta wait till you're caught up, and we'll do a proper like tier list video of your favorite animals of One Piece.
I disagree. We should do a tier list of the animals next time because there's so many, and choosing the animals for me is going to be way hard.
There are some animals that we need to be. I think we were talking about taking a break to do more discussion content, and I think doing like a full 4-hour stream where both halves of it are different One Piece discussions every time there's like a good stopping point is honestly a good idea with how much we want to talk about it. And I think the end of this saga, the end of the saga about Crocodile, is the point that I think we stop and we have a discussion stream where we don't advance in the story at all. We just talk. Yeah. And I think we'll tier list the islands at that point. We'll tier list our favorite animals. I think doing half tier lists, half just general discussion is a good thing to do when we're done that saga. And then when we're done I don't know how to talk about a saga without talking about an island coming up, but
I can't hear
when
you.
We're done the one that's a lot of people's favorites after, will probably be the next catch up, stop, talk. And then after that, I think we'll have to wait until like what is generally considered the midway point of the series to do another stop and talk.
Okay, so yeah, I was thinking it'd be good to do a stop and talk because I always have to talk about what's taking place now, and I can't go back enough and talk about what happened before, and I would like to talk about it as a whole with you. Plus, you have a lot of interesting ideas, and when you and I are just having a talk about what we both read, it can be more of a conversation and less of a me discovered.
Okay, I think that's a good idea to have every once in a while. So yeah, this saga we're going to complete before we do like a big talk stream where we just discuss, go over things, and we will do the animal tier list then because I think we'll have enough animals.
All right, 100%. Right. I'm already trying to think about what order I would put the animals in that I've met, and it's already breaking my heart.
Backstory tier list has to wait till we're a lot further, unfortunately. I am thrilled. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you all so much for being here. If people want to stick around, I'm under no delusion that a lot of people are here for One Piece, but I do a casual chat art stream a lot of the time, and I'm going to be working on a long-term project, which is a Renaissance-style portrait of an e-girl, and I'm going to be talking to a chatter who joined from the One Piece streams, who does incredible artwork. You can find their art in my Discord now. The link was posted a while ago. It's on my bio. You can find the link all over the place. And their artwork's incredible. We're going to talk about the artistic process while I'm working on my long-term project. Thanks everyone to being here. Thanks Mama Drock for this. And I am having a blast. I love having all of you. This is so much fun. I'm so excited to go through the rest of the series. Is there any words you want to go off on?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for sticking with it and forcing me to read One Piece. It took a long time, but in the end, just like Oda would say, timing is everything, and now was when it was meant to happen.
Aw. All right. With that, I bid you adieu. And for everybody else, it's been lovely talking to you. It's so cheesy. It's such a cheesy sign-off, but I love it so much. I love
it too. Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.